You know, we spend so much time talking about the search for that big insight, that huge aha moment. But what about the morning after? This explainer is all about a very specific and often unspoken experience, what it actually means to live after you've already seen something profound. This isn't about the search anymore, it's about the return. You saw something, and then you had to make dinner. I mean, that just says it all, doesn't it? One moment, the entire universe cracks open, you see the whole game, and the next, the mundane reality of life just comes rushing right back in. It's that jarring contrast, that spiritual whiplash that we're going to dive into. So, look, if you've ever had that glimpse of something deeper, that incredible moment of clarity, only to feel a little bit lost back in the thick of daily life, then yeah, this is for you. This is about navigating that return. All right, so let's start right there, right after the breakthrough. There's this brilliant phrase for it. The glimpse, then Tuesday. It's all about that feeling on the morning after the magic has happened. There's this huge gap between the fantasy of it all and the reality, isn't there? The fantasy is that the insight solves everything. You found it. Permanent peace. The search is finally over. But the reality, well, the alarm clock still rings. That old anxiety starts to creep back in, and yep, the laundry is definitely still waiting for you. And that's the real frustration, right? You get this profound new understanding of the prison, of all your patterns, but you're still inside. The insight didn't actually unlock the door. It just gave you a much, much better view of the walls. So here is the most crucial reframe of all. That feeling of falling back into your old ways isn't a failure. It's not a step backward. This is the actual path. The glimpse was just the orientation. Now the real work can begin. And this leads us directly into the inner aftermath. This is where we have to confront that nagging voice of failure and some really, really subtle traps that can emerge on the path. You failed. You lost it. You're right back where you started. Does that voice sound familiar? It's that inner critic, and it absolutely loves to jump on this feeling of having lost the insight. It'll tell you that you had something precious and you just blew it, that you're at square one all over again. But hold on. Here's a totally different way to look at it. The you that forgets, the small self that comes back online and starts claiming failure, is not the same awareness that had the insight in the first place. Awareness was never lost. The conditioned self just stepped back in front of it. This isn't a step backward, it's a revelation of what still needs to be seen with kindness. Now, this leads us to one of the biggest traps you can fall into, spiritual bypassing. This is when the mind very cleverly uses spiritual concepts against our own humanity. It's like creating a shiny spiritual identity to hide from the messy work of actually being a person. And what does that look like in the real world? Well, it can look like premature transcendence. You feel anger, but instead of actually feeling it, you just observe it from a safe distance. Or it's using truth as a weapon, telling someone who's in real pain something like, oh, that's just your ego, which is really just a cruel way to dismiss them. And sometimes seeing the truth of things can actually make life feel worse. All the old meanings that used to drive your life are gone, but new ones haven't formed yet. That liberating groundlessness you read about just feels, well, groundless. It's disorienting. Life can feel totally flat. This is often what's called the dark night of the soul. And then there's the huge disconnect between your mind and your body. Your mind can get it completely, but your body, your nervous system, it didn't read the book. It's still running on ancient programming, reacting to old triggers. A moment of insight doesn't automatically rewrite decades of physical conditioning. So that pretty much covers the internal landscape. But this new awareness doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? What happens when you try to bring it into your relationships? Because that's where the real friction can start. This can be a huge source of tension, especially with a partner. You've changed, but they may not have. The old dramas that used to hook you every time now seem completely transparent. But to them, your refusal to engage can feel like you're withdrawing, or even worse, like you just don't care anymore. And for parents, this can be uniquely painful. You see, with total heartbreaking clarity, how the ego, the conditioned self, is being built in your own child. You watch them internalizing beliefs and patterns, and you know the suffering it'll cause, yet you feel powerless to stop it. Then, of course, there's the broader world. You see the collective madness, the systems all running on fear and greed. But the world doesn't care that you had a realization. The machine just keeps grinding on, and that can lead to this profound sense of helplessness. So what's the answer here? It's to abandon the missionary position. You have to let go of the need to fix or change anyone. The attempt to wake people up is so often just the ego in disguise, and honestly, it rarely ever works. The real work is in letting them be. So if you can't change the world, what do? Well, you return to your own life. This brings us to the sacred ordinary. This is where everything comes together, and this is where the real work truly begins. You still have to live in the world, right? You got to pay the bills, go to work. The path isn't to run away. It's to play the game differently. This means separating your deep, intrinsic worth from your job title. It means finding small pockets of meaning, even in a mundane task. And always remembering the you at work is a role you play, not who you fundamentally are. This is the core of it all. If the sacred, the profound, isn't right here, in this chair, in this room, in the middle of your messy, ordinary life, then it isn't anywhere. The separation between what's spiritual and what's mundane was the real illusion all along. So what does that actually look like in practice? When you wash the dishes, wash the dishes. It's that simple and it's that profound. It just means being fully present with what's right in front of you, not lost in thought about tomorrow, but actually feeling the warm water, the plate in your hands. That is the practice. And that leads us to maybe the most important takeaway of all. The goal is not to achieve some permanent state of enlightenment where you're always awake. That's the old fantasy. The real practice is the gentle, compassionate act of noticing when you've drifted back into the trance and without judgment, just returning. Again and again and again. So let's end with this. The laundry, the difficult conversation, the traffic jam, it is all the path. There is nothing that isn't the curriculum. The question is no longer how to get back to that peak experience. The real question is, can you see the teaching that is right here in front of you, right now?